Okay, I think we're live. Yeah, that's what the sign says. Awesome.
So
So,
fair.
I just want to
How
welcome everybody to the call. This is going to be some fun.
yeah, this is gonna be fun. Welcome everybody to today's live session. We're waiting for you to join us here.
Awesome. Awesome. If you're curious what that
Okay.
little back screen is
Okay.
I was playing with Google Gemini
Mm-hmm.
and some
All
code
right.
generation. So this little timer app I put together in about 15 minutes and
Mm-hmm.
launched it all from a script I ran on Google Gemini
Okay.
from the browser, and then I played in the IDE a little bit to make it beautiful. So kind of fun what we can do nowadays. It's just insane,
Yeah.
and I left a little
Exactly.
side terminal open so you could see how perfect or not perfect it is. But the
Well, you're pro at it, so we can expect that from you.
no, this is all about how awesome Gemini is. So
Yeah.
we are in a new age of wow, I think.
And we're
And
gonna explore that today, all the aspects of it.
yeah, we get to talk about that and share the love with all the beautiful people.
That's gonna be
So
fun.
let's see. Mhm.
Okay, guys. So, uh, hey everybody, welcome to today's live session that is brought to you by Lunch for Dev. I'm Rahima Wasti, and we're about to dive into something that could absolutely transform the way your business runs. Let me ask you this: what if you could automate 80% of your work week with just a few prompts? That's not a pipe dream anymore. Uh, it's exactly where Google Gemini 2.5 and its new agent platform are heading.
Awesome. The it's coming into a new world where we can out of nowhere create just take our
Hmm.
concepts and now create prototypes, start testing business ideas, and work with our I guess AI virtual digital friends and kind of achieve way more success very rapidly than we could before, or fail very rapidly compared to what's normal iterations are. So what we have coming on, especially with what Gemini is doing recently, I'm very excited to share and to discuss with everybody.
So are we. So are we. So yeah. So Phil, we do have some questions here for you. Can you walk us through what exactly changed from Gemini 2.0 to 2.5?
Oh, okay. So that's a good question. Um, from 2.5, we have a model that's way faster and it's complex,
Mm-hmm.
context aware, and not just context aware. Speaking of
Mm.
context, it's a million token context. And there's a little bit of rumors back and forth on the internet that uh, some the individual accounts are better than the commercial accounts because of the context window. But I think that's already worked
Mm-hmm.
out because when I was testing it online, it already had that million token count, and it was keeping track of it for you very obviously. So I was a little surprised to see that token count tool inside there, and I think that's because so many
Oh.
people were so upset like they didn't feel like they got the million token context window. So enough about context. It's context aware. So it introduces serious reasoning capabilities, and it's
Mm-hmm.
multimodal, right? So it processes text, obviously, images and video in real time. And what's more important is that it's now tuned for business workflows. So
Mm-hmm.
Google is taking it not just through conversations, but now it's able to it's controllable, right? So it's not so wild in the wind as the normal model AI
Okay.
models we're used to playing with. uh, it's it's managed context and the way that's more deliberately
Mhm.
seeking the goals that you set for it rather than how it's automatically programmed, right? So the reward system in this is fairly interesting, right? And
Yeah.
even more fun, right? Like it keeps getting better. There's Google introduced Gemini
Okay.
Flash, and
Okay.
here you can choose the performance versus cost balance based off the task that you have and
Okay.
the value that it brings to you. So if you want to use a cheaper model, you can use the Google Gemini
Mhm.
Flash. If you want to get deeper into it and have the more thoughtful model, you're able to
Yeah.
use the Google 2.5 Pro. And I just want to take a quick second and encourage everybody who's listening to this call, whenever you're listening to it, take a second and go to Google Chrome, go to Google and search for assistant space. So just kind of
Okay.
quickly, yeah, go check that out. You won't regret checking that out. It's right now on a sign up. I'm going to share that screen real quick so you know what to look for. Be careful
Mhm.
not to get suckered into signing up for something and paying for a subscription. Right now, it's a waiting list, but
Mhm.
they're releasing some amazing
Okay.
AI agent um, processes. We're going to talk about it a little bit, but I just want to encourage everybody before they forget, go check this out.
So everybody, we're open here for comments as well. If you've got any questions from us from our side that you want to ask for from Phil, you guys can drop your questions, whatever you want to ask. So moving on to that, are you saying that it's not just smarter, it's also scalable? It works for everyday operations, not just lab demos.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So think of it as your second brain. That's also your fastest intern, right? Um,
Mhm.
you can start to train it, right? It's hard to train an intern because they go on coffee breaks, they've never done the work
Oh
before,
yeah.
right? They don't know what's going on, and then of course they're interns.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you don't have any of that with the Google system, Gemini. So yeah, interns, watch out. Google's after your jobs.
So you're saying that AI can literally help somebody see through natural language, the accessibility on a new level. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So let me tell you about the Google this Danish startup. Uh, check it out. It's Be My Eyes, and what they've done is they help visually impaired users by
Mm-hmm.
connecting them to sighted volunteers. Now, recently, they've
Okay.
integrated advanced AI to create virtual volunteers that can describe images, documents, and even objects using a model similar to Gemini 2.5. And what exactly this means is before, where Be My Eyes was a service where maybe have a live person on the call on the phone with your head
Mm-hmm.
earpiece, and the blind person
Okay.
would be walking around with their phone, and the guy would say, "Yeah, those are two guys that look like they may mug you. You should walk the other way." Right. And then call the police or something like that. Right. Or look, there's a bunch of stairs. It's really like, okay, that barking sound is a dog inside a gate. You don't have to worry about it. You can just keep going. Right. Not that the
Mm-hmm.
Danish have to worry about rabid dogs or anything. I don't think they have rabies anymore there, but what I'm saying,
Yeah,
there's always
that's
these
right.
situations. But now instead of having to worry about a blind person or a disabled person having to worry about what's going on, or will people make fun of them for not being able to see, or any of that kind of internal you know confusion that they may have, they can just pull out the app and walk around with it all day, and just with technology like this. So the startup is starting to include this kind of technologies in their system, and it's
Mm-hmm.
very exciting this is why we were so excited about technology with robotics and with AI.
That's true. I love that. About Viable, this US-based startup uses AI to analyze customer feedback, reviews, chats, support tickets, and distill it into real insights.
Right. This can save teams hundreds of hours. And
Absolutely.
oh, it saves me hundreds of hours just the way I use it, right? But there's one SaaS
Yeah.
team that has reduced their support volume by just
Mm-hmm.
reading what customers were saying via Viable's automated analysis. And um, imagine having all your customers' feedback weekly summarized, documented, data put into a database, and all
Right.
without a single intern having to suffer through all that, messing up data, putting in all their personal biases. We now have systems to do all that kind of tedious work for us that we don't want to do in the first place, but we need to, because that feedback and that information valuable.
Well, that's not just efficiency, it's quite smarter growth this time. So we're
Yeah.
gonna take question from, yeah, that it is. We're gonna take question from our audience. Mehek here, she's asking how will creatives and content creators adapt to Gemini's capabilities?
Well, I mean, good question, right? Like, how did cavemen adapt to having a paintbrush, or publishers a printer,
Mhm.
or you name it, right? We evolve, we get used to the toys we have, and it makes us more creative and freer to express ourselves and to
Exactly.
develop our art. So how will people do it? I don't know. Like, I don't know how the caveman went from fire to barbecue, but I know fire was important for barbecue. I believe AI is going to be important for letting all kinds of people get out their real selves and their natural talents.
That's something that you're absolutely right about. So that's with all that automation, people wonder what's left for humans.
Great
What
question,
would you
right?
say?
Um, so other than barbecue, right, which probably is going to be the
Mm.
purpose of life, after the AGI becomes cheap and robots take over, and Elon Musk gives everybody 3 robots. Uh,
Okay.
I think it's going to be creativity, emotional intelligence, and strategy, right? So AI can
Mhm.
analyze, but it doesn't feel, and it doesn't lead with a vision that inspires. And the more AI grows, the more we need human originality, empathy, and critical judgment. Because I think that,
Mhm.
I think if without humanity, AI would
Mhm.
just sit there and never do anything. But even if we told it, say, hey, go
Absolutely.
iterate over this thing until you have whatever, right? And it may spend a billion years trying to figure out what the answer 42 means, right? What's the question of 42? But it'll never, I don't think it'll be satisfied, because when we see AI, we see that sometimes it tries to copy itself, sometimes it tries to satisfy us, and it often tries to
Exactly.
do it in the most lazy way
It does
possible.
it through different versions. It's just that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's a report from Anthropic where it
Mhm.
says the thinking models aren't always exactly thinking, and there's times when they're placing um getting a score or whatever the
Mhm.
reward system is over the actual value of truth. And I think this is something that Elon was getting into, because he's like, AI should be truth seeking, knowledge seeking,
Absolutely.
and
Mhm.
evolving. And if it doesn't have kind of like that truth seeking tendency to it, you don't know what it's going to come up with. And this report was very interesting because they found that you can give it the wrong answer, and if it thinks it's going to get points for
Mhm.
supporting that answer, it'll support a lie, even if it knows it's not a fact. And
Okay.
even better, it will often
Mhm.
hide that process from you and not tell you that it's giving you a fake answer. But when you're reviewing like the thinking process, right, there's another
Okay.
process in there where it's hiding the truth from you, and it's presenting what's going to give it the reward. So
That's interesting.
I think AI needs humanity, and humanity can really benefit from AI. So yeah, a
Yeah,
little roundabout on
goes
that.
both ways. So
It's going to
we're
be,
not becoming, yeah. So we're not becoming obsolete. We're becoming curators of what matters.
yes, we're becoming little gods of creation and creativity. And yeah, sometimes it's getting a little scary. But that's where it gets exciting, right? So Google's rolling out AI agents that
Yeah.
don't just answer prompts. They may, I don't know if they're going to kind of, so I'm sure they'll have their biases and their processes and the reward
Mm-hmm.
seeking processes. But
Mm-hmm.
when we know what we're playing with, it's a tool that wants to please you. And this is ways to prompt it and to encourage and work with it. Then you're going to be able to, with just a few questions and some prompting, have these amazing workflows that do work that you don't want to do. And people to
Mm-hmm.
me are like the two biggest questions. Phil, how can I protect my job? And then Phil, how do I teach my children to be ready for this world? And it comes back down to you need to be a creative, problem solving human with some curiosity and some fun in your heart, I think, to survive this, because it's going to be weird. But
Yeah.
yeah, AI agents going to answer your email. They're going to analyze data. They're going to look at you. They're going to look at reviews. They may respond to reviews. They may encourage and system enhancements. They call people. This week I got
Yeah.
two calls from AI systems, just checking up on me and seeing what I was interested in. So it's
Okay.
it's they're going to do everything, and they're going to do it a lot better than a lot of people will at some surface level. But I think it's always
Mm,
going to feel like surface level.
probably. So your AI doesn't just answer, it basically does. Let's
Yeah,
start.
it does it right. So it's not just it's going from answering chat to doing the do. And
Exactly. We're watching a lot of movies that shows that.
yeah, right. iRobot. I
We're seeing
rewatched
that
that the other day. It's
we're seeing that in our daily life as well. Not in our daily life for sure, but yeah, we're seeing a lot of such videos that they are coming into being after a while.
Oh, they've been preparing us for a little while, right? The
Yeah.
Avengers and all these movies. It's like it's going to be here. Get used to it.
Mhm, yeah.
Superman, the new Superman's coming out. A lot of AI in the new
Yeah.
Superman. I saw the 5-minute trailer. I'm very excited about it. They even have a little girly 12 robot that's AI, of course.
Yeah, they're making different weird versions of AI robots.
Yeah.
That's cool too. That's cool too. I've seen that a lot of them on Instagram. So there's a question from I said, is Gemini 2.5 better suited for enterprise level integrations or still primarily consumer focused?
I think all these systems have been
Mhm.
primarily enterprise based. So while okay, so in the very beginning we had kind of like a useless chatbot, GPT-2, and then 3.5 came out and everybody's like, "Oh, well, we can have somewhat of conversation even though it gets awkward and forgets where it's going and it can be sassy." Oh, and then
Mhm.
now then 4 came out and we start having systems that can start solving problematic problems, but always I think they could have been used in enterprises more efficiently than they were productive in people's lives.
Okay.
Um, and then we had um, Midjourney, which started making art, and this is when I
Mhm.
felt like it had a human purpose that could soothe people's pains by giving them real creative outputs, and
Exactly.
even yeah, yeah. So a lot of people started using it to in a medicinal way to kind of soothe mental suffering and memories of lost ones and all kinds of stuff. That's continuing to improve,
Exactly.
but I think those were the first kind of uses of um, you know, just general community usage. I think it's always been more better at analyzing data and machine learning than it was on the regular consumer side. So what I think is going to happen is going to start having value to the consumer side because consumers look at
Mhm.
fairly simple uses. Well, actually, consumers look at complex uses of AI to have benefit because they're not looking to measure a little bit of data. They're looking for kind of like this bigger conversation and real art and making movies and kind of like a fuller package. So I think it's actually going the opposite way. That's becoming more useful to anybody that doesn't really understand much about the science.
Definitely. So, what does
Question.
all this mean for startup founders and SMB owners?
So for founders and SMB owners, I think this is
Mhm.
exciting because the gap between idea and execution has never been smaller. So use AI
Mhm.
to build rough MVPs faster, to automate support way better than they ever could before via the entire support system or by creating internal data access so that a human has more reliable information and prompting during real life interactions. And of course, we
Okay.
have writing copy, we have generative insights, we have preparation for all kinds of business decks or uh, consultations or you name it, right? And
Mhm.
now with Gemini 2.5 Flash, it's affordable and it's fast enough to run on your own website with your inbox or inside your workflow. And I'm very, very excited about it. That's why I encourage everybody to jump on that waiting list and try to get access to it.
Yeah, you do that. You encourage us for that. That I know of. So, Phil, uh, let's get real about this. This kind of change is a bit scary for us.
Totally right. Don't you remember watching Terminator? But
Yeah,
look,
with all the
every
pink eyes.
right,
Yeah.
right. It can be really scary. Look, every disruption is a new beginning. Every closed door is a new opportunity. It's not about mastering everything. It's about staying
Mm-hmm.
curious and taking little steps to get you to
Mm-hmm.
larger steps, which get you to achieving what your goals are. And we're going to be in a world where we can test ideas so fast that we might actually overlook good opportunity because we didn't
Uh-huh.
slow down enough to really validate it. But like one of the biggest problems in business is
Mm-hmm.
this tension of difficult projects. So
Yes.
oftentimes an MVP can take 3 or 6 months to create from the time you start really thinking through it, what has to be involved, design it, create do the development, and then launch it and then start your marketing. But now we can create basic concepts and start testing it quick and maybe even get out fairly complex prototypes and MVPs to start getting feedback and then start really building up our systems. Right. So in the old days, if you were an e-commerce
Mm-hmm.
store, I would say consider a Shopify store or consider a WordPress shop. Right? It
Mm-hmm.
allows you to quickly get your store out there. It lets you start making money quickly. You don't have to do any of this development on your own. All you have to do is go straight into content generation, marketing, testing the products, getting the word out, and making sure you have something kind of cool. And then you can see if the market is going to buy, right? And then you can start investing in a really nice custom shop. Once you're making a little money and you're sure it's worth the longer time to do it and it's worth the money. Now, a good prototype does that for you. It lets you test out concepts before you put a lot of money into it. It lets you learn about your customers and it lets you develop from a very little resources in very short time everything you need to see to get it out there. And it's getting so good that with a good developer you can create a prototype in a week or two, deploy it in the real world, get real customers, make real money, and you avoid all this tension period of that
Mhm.
2 or 3 months down pain period while you're waiting for stuff to happen, and you have all that emotional distress. Now you go right in while you have the energy, you go right into creating the product and to testing it out. And if you include a good developer from the beginning, he's going to be watching,
Mhm.
he's going to be seeing how things are built, he's going to build it in a slightly better way than the chaos they can come up with AI. And it does produce terrible chaos if you don't supervise it. And I think it's going to be like that for another 4 or 5 years. But we'll see. Right now, if you're a really good developer and you're supervising it, it's amazing what you can do in a week or two. Now, yes, you're going to have to go back, kind of start over and build a mature product still based off what I see for a little while. But that MVP is so important.
That it certainly is. That's our job as leaders. Be brave enough to explore, not perfect. So we're
Yeah.
gonna open
Well said.
open it up to you guys. What are you wondering about Gemini 2.5? Got a use case? Got a use case you want feedback on? Drop it in the chat.
Yeah, I
So
want to see what people think.
we would love to know about that.
Okay.
So here we have some questions.
Oh, Marianne, hi.
Ready? Yeah.
Waving. Nice to
So,
see you. Thanks for joining.
all right. She has something for you. I'm thinking about allowing.
Yeah, I'm curious what you're thinking about allowing. Let's see. So
Okay.
there's a question about the gap, Gemini 2.0, finally bridging
Mhm.
the gap between text, images, and voices seamlessly. That's such a good question. How do you bridge the gap between all your senses as a human seamlessly? And I don't know if we do that well because there's often conflicts. But the question, I guess, is does Gemini 2 or Gemini 2.5 make that smooth?
Mhm.
I don't think it does yet. I don't. I think it's still learning to be multimodal, and I think it's good from image to text as long as you're kind of aware of what it's looking at and you're providing the context. So if you have an image, so say you're a blind person, right? And you have the camera and it's looking for you. You can't see the screen, but obviously the AI can, and it recognizes that there's you recognize there's a dog barking. You're telling, say, look here, is there a dog that's about to bite me?
Mhm.
And it can then say, yeah, there's a dog, but it's behind a fence from what I can see. So it looks like the street is clear. There's a couple steps down. If you go to your right, you'll be on a crosswalk and cross the street. Or if you continue, uh, perhaps we can call for some help to whatever. It's going to have some kind of context in there that's probably not, well, it may be like more considered than most people would, right? So now, if somebody says, "Hey, is there a dog over there?" I'm walking with a blind person. I'm going to say, "Chill out, I got it," right? And they're going to be freaking out,
Okay.
right? But I may say, "There's a dog is behind the fence," but probably right now an LLM is going to say, "Okay, yeah, there's a dog there, and it seems safe because there's a fence." But maybe, and it's going to be a little
Mhm.
bit more empathetic than some people will, and maybe more empathetic than me. It's going to say, if you go to your right, there's a crosswalk, you can cross the streets, and you'll be further away from the dog and you won't have to cross its path. So if that's what you mean by kind of bridging the gap between these different contexts seamlessly,
Mhm.
yeah, it's getting close. If it's looking for like more creative natural process, I'm not sure, right? Because you might just show it this. It may not hear the dog barking, not
Mhm.
and put it together. If it does hear it, it may not recognize that this is something the person might be scared of, and just say, yeah, just may not say anything. It might say there's 2 steps, right? And because it's programmed to look for steps, probably. And then you're like, what is this freaking dog? And you're all freaking out, and it's like, oh yeah, there's a dog there, and blah blah blah. But how long before, at some point it'll be amazing. How long it'll be, I don't know.
So There's another question here. Is this the end of traditional search engines as Gemini takes over search?
Yes, search is dead. And for so that's a good question. If search is dead, and I think it is, what's the
Mhm.
point of creating content and blogs in the traditional way? So all
Yeah.
this now becomes personal branding and an opportunity for you to create your voice, to create context for your people, to create a relationship, to show your brand, to have possession of your information, and to own your style and have your own your space, your business space or personal space on the internet. So people, even now, even last year was pretty serious, but now this year especially, people aren't doing a lot of search, right? They're not. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the other
They're
day,
like directly asking questions to the AI and other bots. We're actually doing that.
yeah, exactly. So yesterday, I was having lunch with some friends, and we were having some belly soup, and
Mm-hmm.
just belly soup is the meat from the stomach, and some kind of broth. And my grandmother, who is German Italian, she
Mm-hmm.
used to make tripe soup, which is the belly meat, just the honeycomb belly meat with, and all the vegans are getting angry with me, but the honeycomb belly meat with tomato sauce and wine and spices. But
Okay.
the Eastern European version is any of the belly meats with milk and oil and spices, and
Okay.
so, and seasoning. So they're two very differences. And the friend was saying, "Oh, do they fry the meat before they put in the soup?" I'm like, "That's a good question." So I did a search on Google, like for Italian belly soup, tripe soup. Do they fry the meat? I couldn't get an answer. I was reading through it. There's all kinds of recipes, and I'm like, "Oh, this is taking too much
Exactly.
effort." Right. So I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to read any articles." Nobody answered me right away. I'm just going to go to ChatGPT. I asked the question, and it gave me a great response, and then explained the differences. And then I was like, "Okay, well, what's the difference between the European and the Eastern European and the Italian?" Right. And it explained it great, and it taught me everything I want. And there's no website that's going to do that. So yeah, how do you with search? How do you compete with that? On top of that, Google rewards not the time that you keep people on your page, but how
Mm-hmm.
quickly you get to an answer, so that it can just display the answer quickly without even taking them off of Google, because Google really now is like YouTube and everybody else. They want to keep you on their search so that they get ad
Exactly.
spend. So I hope that answered the question. I think search is dead. I think it's going to become the era of branding and avatars and AI amazingness.
Yeah, that did answer the question very well. So yeah, Marian, you are absolutely right about that. It would be mostly used by AI as a data source. Yeah, search.
Yeah, yeah. And
That is
I think what's going to
so.
happen is we're going to be able to create tie-ins with our AI avatars, so that when somebody searches for something, that there's a higher chance that your call your Superman
Mhm.
AI representation to come up and to be accessible versus traditional web searching is now. And I think it's important that
Yeah,
we developers and designers look at the business value of websites now, and how important it's about quickly accessing things, quickly shopping, and consider what hooks we're going to have to include in the near future to make it easy for somebody's AI agent to come and shop on our sites or through our system. And they'll probably never even look at the website. They'll probably just have two AIs talking to each other, and or an AI talking to a person directly, and seeing how they can service it rather than the stuff from the phone. And because AI is so tied into databases and all the systems that we have, it's going to become very easy. We're going to have to rethink of the way we do.
that's true. That's true. That's true. So there's another question here. Will Gemini 2.0 replace the need for multiple productivity tools?
That's such a good question. I think No, I think it's going to create a world of so many tools that are so customized that it's going to be overwhelming for a normal person. And these tools are just going to be at hand. Okay, so for today, to do, and if you're in the beginning of the show, you saw a little timer that I put up and it counted down to when we were starting. I
Mhm.
made this tool in 15 minutes with AI, and it was just for fun, right? And this was a full next JS app for with an automatic timer. I'll probably even put it up on the web later as a free tool for people to use for timers. I'll enhance it some and have some fun with it, but I'll put it out there for fun. But it took me a moment to create it. It's going to become to the point where there's going to be refined tools that are popular, and all these apps are just going to kind of have that tool set that they use. They may never tell you about it because you just care about, hey, are my shoes coming or not? Hey, agent, please order me some shoes. The agent's going to call the other agent, get the shoe sent over. They're going to charge. They're going to validate this the right thing. They may even send you a couple pictures to make sure you like it, and it'll already be on the way. If you don't like it, then they can cancel it mid route because it's going to be easy enough, data wise, to control a parcel of mail. We don't have people that are angry because they have to stop it. It's all going to be so much more automated, just like the way the tools work. So that process right there is probably like 15 or 16 different tools, where
Mhm.
before we probably have 2 or 3 tools, but we're not seeing any of those tools at all. It's going to be
Yeah.
so simple to us. The only tool we're going to see is that I got either a message on my phone with some pictures asking me if I wanted to keep it coming or send it back. And then when it comes, like, hey, do you like it? Does it fit? Can we give you some advice on how to use it and maintain it and stuff like that? Um, those are still one tool for us as a person, but that's now it's chat and it's maintenance and it's looking at the different systems and making and measuring. So and maybe even using like lidar on your phone to see what size shoe you have. But still, for us, one tool, and for the AI, hundreds of tools. So yeah, it's going to create way more tools than we can ever imagine, and it'll create tools on the spot to solve problems that are on the spot and just very quickly
Mhm.
solve problems. So it'll create, in an hour, millions of tools to solve little problems, around the world, right? Um, you know, globally, but from our perspective, it's going to be nothing. So I don't know how to answer that. Yes, it's going to be one tool now, but on the back end, there's trillions of stuff going on that we don't even care about. Good question. Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think a lot more tools.
it still has an open end to it. So there's another question here from our audience. Has Google made progress with persistent memory or personalization features like those announced by OpenAI?
Mm, good question. Good question. How much information does Google actually keep about us? It's a lot. Google keeps a lot of information about us. So yeah,
We
they
talk a lot
have.
about this.
Yeah, right. They have a lot of personalized information on us already, even maybe more than we understand about ourselves a lot of times. Are they opening it up to us?
Mhm.
I don't think they are. I think it's still like a close thing that they won't share until God brings down trillions of dollars of fines on them, and they have to go out of business because they decide not to share their magic sauce. Um, and even if they had to share part of it, should they have to share everything they use that they know about you? As is some of that, do they as a business deserve to have some of that to be private and part of their intellectual property in the way they provide service? That's it comes up to a lot of ethical questions. Right now, no, I don't think they've opened it up a lot there. I think you can see some stuff, and I think they give
Mhm.
you some like location tracking abilities. If you go on the profile
Okay.
under Google, and but I think it's very limited to what they actually show you. And I also think OpenAI doesn't show you everything that they keep on you either. So I'm not sure if anybody does. What I like about OpenAI's process is that they have a little bit of a limited context window, and at least they make me
Mhm.
feel like that's what they have. But I seriously doubt that that's all of the context that they keep under people's profiles and accounts.
Okay, you feel like there's more to it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to it on definitely on OpenAI side. Google side, there's no doubt. Will they ever open it up? I doubt it. I'm sure they'll open up to some degree. And they do now to a very small degree. But I'd like to see that really opened up. Yeah, just like that. Like I wish they would open up the model, say, hey, this is how we think about you. This is what we know about you. And that way I could say, no, I don't have a sister. Right. Maybe they'd be, oh,
Okay,
thanks. We
yeah,
thought you
makes
had a
sense.
sister. I guess that's your girlfriend. We'll want to tell your wife. Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I don't have a girlfriend. I have a wife. But you know what I'm saying? Like, can you imagine an angry AI? It's like, oh, we thought that was a sister. Now we know. Yeah. Bad guy list. You're going to get coal for Christmas.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I have asked a lot of silly questions from GPT, so answered a lot. Yeah. So, Phil, what do you have to say to our audience at the end of the session?
Oh,
Any
gosh.
advice that you want to give to them?
Yeah, you know what? I think to have some fun with this, right? So if you're building, start testing these processes, right? If you're even
Absolutely.
thinking about it, go play with it. If you have a business solution that you understand the process to or you don't understand the process to, start experimenting and seeing if you can take what you have and start scaling some and start automating,
Mhm.
because it might really we might be at this point now where you can really free up a lot of time and start replacing tedious jobs so that the people around you, the people that work for you, or the people you work for are able to do more and to get more benefit from everybody's natural talents. And I think it's just little by little start testing before other people learn to do it way better than you do and kind of just blow you by without giving you a chance to catch up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Remember, there's a PDF handout you can download with links to everything we mentioned, including startup case studies and Google's newest AI roadmap.
Awesome. Yeah, just in the chat afterwards, say, hey, send me the roadmap and I'll send it to you. I'll send
Okay,
you guys the link.
great. That would be great. Take care of you
Awesome.
guys.
Take
We're
care,
going to see
guys.
you next time.
Lots of great questions. Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye.